Go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Review. I'm Phil Hargis. It's good to see you guys again. We are making our way through the playoffs here. We see, one good game after another, and one big upset after another. It's been a wild, very unpredictable NFL playoffs. So a lot of that good playoff action to get going here. And now that the 2011 season is here, we're also really excited to get you started with a little bit of horse racing and a recap from last year's action too. We'll get to that later in the show. But for right now, we have a special guest in the house right now. We got Doug Cook. Doug Cook, welcome home. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, well, this isn't my home anymore. I'd like to make that clear. Had about enough of this buzz killing in Northern Virginia. But there were some exciting playoff games going on, and there still are more to come. And there's some exciting horse racing going on, too. This basically starting off the season of, the new 3-year-olds and so forth.
This is definitely our favorite time of the year, and also no stranger to buzz killing. We got Robbie Castro in the house as well. So, Robbie, we're going to try to educate you on a little bit of horses this year, and maybe we'll get you a winning ticket to the Derby this year.
Oh, that'd be nice, because I need it. So
Yeah.
I need to make some quick money. I know Doug's always doing it, so.
It can't be that hard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Doug puts more time into the horse handicapping and everything. But one of the things that they do around this time every year is they celebrate the 2009 horse racing season, and they hand out the horse racing's version of the MVPs, the ESPYs, all the Pro Bowl horse racing, if you will. They hand out the Eclipse Awards. So they just conducted the Eclipse Awards, Doug, last Monday night, didn't they? And you were in attendance down there in Florida, weren't you? At Gulfstream Park watching those.
It was a 3-hour show, and it was pretty cool. They had all the people there, all the trainers and jockeys and owners and so forth. Really big celebration for, all the horse racing fans and connections.
Yeah, I know. I mean, okay, so let's go ahead and tell these guys what happened, what some of the awards were. Some of the first awards they hand out are for the champion 2-year-olds, both the fillies and the males.
Well, the 2-year-old male of the year was obviously Uncle Mo. Uncle Mo, the way he destroyed the field in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Churchill Downs, he definitely comes into 2011 as the top-ranked 3-year-old and the early favorite for the Kentucky Derby.
Is he going to win the Derby?
Well, you know what? The last guy that won the BC Juvenile at Churchill Downs and then went on to race in the Kentucky Derby was Street Sense. As you know, he did the doubleheader there. So it's obviously, he's an obvious early favorite. Unless something happens to him or he starts going downhill, he'll be the favorite. And the 2-year-old filly of the year was Awesome Feather. Same kind of thing, did some damage on Breeders' Cup Day there at Churchill.
Okay, those of you that are casual horse racing fans at home, you watch you may not know this or not, but you do watch the 3-year-olds. Their campaign is the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. Those are the big horse races. And at the end of the year, there's capped off with the Breeders' Cup Classic, but which also usually enters some of the top 3-year-olds. But Doug, who were the champion 3-year-olds this year?
Well, the 3-year-old top colt of the year was Looking at Lucky, who won the Preakness and some other races. Obviously, he did not win the Kentucky Derby. That was stolen by Super Saver and Calvin Brell, but he did win a lot of other big races. He was strong, and the 3-year-old filly of the year was Blind Luck, who won just about every race, coming from behind in style. Finally lost her first race of the year this year on the fast track at Santa Anita. Things running really fast, favoring early speed. But she's obviously a horse to look out for, a filly to look out for this year.
Now, is it coincidental they both have the name Luck in their name, or is that has something to do with their breeding?
Yeah, I think that's just a coincidence, and they did get lucky in a few races. Let's be honest, they didn't win all of them by two or three or more lengths.
All right, let's keep breaking it down. Just so you know, the horses do not stop racing after the 3-year-old years. Many of them do, but some of the owners that are a little more gutsy out there, or some of the, basically some of the castrated horses that I'm forgetting the name of right now. The geldings, thank you. Jeez, I've been out of horse racing for too long, man. I need to get back into it. The geldings will keep racing past the 3-year-old years. Who were the champion older horses this year?
Well, the older horse of the year, older female was Zenyatta. Also won the overall horse of the year, which was kind of a sympathy vote. It was based on past performances of the past 3 years because they never gave her. She was undefeated coming into the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. Lost by a nose to Blame in that hard-fought, win where Blame just barely held on, and she was just a split second too late. But you know what? She won all of her other career races, and they gave her the award based on that because she never got the overall horse of the year award before that. And then also on our graphic, we're showing the top male sprinter, Big Drama, who incidentally broke the track record at Gulfstream Park a couple weeks ago in a sprint handicap there. Giopani finally gets male turf of the year, and Goldakova, who I singled on my Breeders' Cup Pick 6 ticket, and rightly so because she won that in style.
Yeah, so some of the top owners this year, Doug. I mean, WinStar is often the top of the list. I mean, they own Super Saver. I mean, they were just stacked from the beginning of the season until the end of the season with champion horses all across the board.
Yeah, indeed.
And Todd Pletcher. I mean, you don't have to know much about horse racing, but you've heard the name Todd Pletcher. He just gets the best of the best horses, so it's no surprise that he won the Trainer of the Year.
And he finally won the Kentucky Derby.
He did. So hats off to.
In addition to several trainers titles that he's had in years past, he finally got the elusive Derby victory.
And it was a very profitable one for both of us. So that was a great win for Todd Pletcher and Super Saver. And rounding out the awards for the top performers was the jockeys. Ramon Dominguez, always one of the top jockeys in the business.
Yeah, he's solid. So let's get back to the NFL playoffs. I know a lot of people want to speak to that. We actually did some predictions in Week 12. Thought we'd just rehash this on the TV show because I thought it was kind of funny that I got all the division standings, 100% of the division standings right. And my colleagues here, maybe 4 or 5 right. Not exactly all of them. So that brings us into the playoff picture. And, I don't know what to say about this playoffs, but I made a lot of playoff predictions. I'm sure you guys did too, and I'm sure our fans did too. And I'm sure a lot of those haven't come right so far.
Robbie, it's been tough to predict this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of has. I mean, you look at the Seattle Seahawks. I didn't think they were going to get in at 7-9, and I thought the Indianapolis Colts were kind of on the edge. I really thought the Jaguars had the upper hand in that division because they were on a hot streak from middle to late end of the season. Garrard gets injured.
Jones-Drew gets injured.
And Jones-Drew gets injured, exactly. And the Colts end up beating the Titans by a field goal. Who knew that was going to happen? So, and then there's a lot of mix-up. I really thought that the Buccaneers or the Giants, one of those two teams, would slide in with a 10-6 record, but that didn't happen. So we're left with the New York Jets, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Green Bay Packers, and the Chicago Bears. And those 4 teams, let me tell you, all 4 quarterbacks are primed, except for Jay Cutler. They've all been there before. They're all used to the limelight.
That's true. I think the main thing I used was my power rank. First of all, if you look at the top AFC offense and defense, the top offense in the NFL was the New England Patriots. Top defense was Pittsburgh Steelers. So definitely, and with, as you can see, that New England also a top 10 defense as well. So you would definitely expect them to win at least their first home game in the playoffs, right? And which brings me to the power rankings, upon which that I based my predictions. All right, so New England got my top Doug power rank. By the way, these will be for sale next year for a small price. My top power ranking was given to New England in the NFL, and then followed by Pittsburgh and so forth. Yeah, look, San Diego is checking in there at number 3. Why didn't they get in the playoffs? Why? Well, if you look at their win-loss column, they only got 9 wins. The rest of them had 10 or more wins. You had to have 10 wins to get into the AFC. You only needed 7 to get into the NFC. We'll get to that in a minute. But that brought us to our AFC playoff predictions, okay? And if you look at our group consensus, Robbie was mentioning the Jacksonville Jaguars. I wasn't part of that consensus. I knew the Colts were going to win that division. But you look at our conference championship predictions, of all of those teams that we predicted in the conference championship, only one of them is still alive. Out of all those 6 teams we mentioned there, or it was actually 5 teams, I guess, overall. But How is that possible, Phil?
It's just been an unpredictable year. I mean, they're across the board in the AFC and in the NFC. There was a lot of teams that were very comparable in talent. I mean, especially in the AFC. Any number of teams. When you have teams that are sitting at home, like in the NFC, had like Robbie said before, you had the Giants and the Bucks with 10 wins. Maybe a more undeserving team, 7-9, like the Seahawks get in the playoffs, but they proved that they belonged in the playoffs by beating a very talented yet injured.
I thought we were talking about the AFC.
Well, I was going to get back to the AFC. I mean, how is it possible that teams like San Diego missed the board? Because, they just weren't consistent enough, Doug. They had problems all year.
They didn't get enough wins.
They totally lacked a running game, a lot of time, a consistent running game, even though they had statistically a lot of running yards. But, other teams like Oakland, how about this team? This team goes 6-0 in their division, but they don't make the playoffs either. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a bit of an anomaly.
They should get a prize for the 6-0 division mark, though. I mean, usually when a team does that, they'll get like 10 or 12 wins and win that division, though.
Right. Well, I think that this year you kind of throw everything you thought about the NFL out the window because like we've been saying all season long, it's just been so unpredictable. I mean, you look at the New England Patriots on paper. You don't really see this team as a firepower offensive weapon, but they're a juggernaut during the regular season. I compare them to the Washington Capitals in the NHL. They just didn't have what it took to be a contending playoff team. They had a rookie cornerback that had 8 interceptions. I mean, he's still a rookie. He's never played the playoffs before. You have guys like Danny Woodhead, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. You have wide receivers Brandon Tate, Wes Welker, who didn't even play in the first drive. So that kind of carried over. And plus, they had a week off, and they lost all that momentum.
The bye week's a problem. It definitely can be a problem, as evidenced in and year out. And also, I mean, I think that the flux of the New England Patriots season just finally caught up to them. And I think that Ryan over there did a masterful job, throwing out all these distractions for the Patriots that week and really getting them off their game.
Yeah, let's move on to the NFC for now. We'll get the whole complete playoff picture in a minute. But the NFC top offense and defense, pretty simple. You had a good team topping the offensive charts there in Philadelphia. Not much defense. That's why I threw them out of the mix first. If you look at Philly, was 21st in defense. Seattle 25th. They're easy playoff throwouts as far as going to the conference championship. And at Green Bay ranked number 1 in the NFC in defense, followed by Chicago, etc. And so if you look at that, I compiled my NFC power rankings, which are going to be for sale next year for a small price. And Green Bay actually topped my power rankings, based on offense and defense and so forth. Green Bay is actually at the top of that, even though they were the 6th seed in the playoffs, followed by Atlanta, who ended up with the number 1 seed, who Green Bay just pounded on last week. And if you note down at the power rankings chart, down at number 28 in the NFL is Seattle. Seattle at 7-9 had earned my 28th out of 32nd teams power rankings, which is another reason why Seattle just shouldn't have been in the playoffs at all. There's no reason, there's no way that a 7-win team deserves to be in the playoffs.
This team went out and beat your number 3 ranked power ranked team there in the New Orleans Saints, and they've been a fairly decisive game.
Well, that's true, they did. But that doesn't mean, what do you think Tampa Bay or the New York Giants, 2 10-win teams, would have done to New Orleans? They made it pounding on them even more.
No.
What I'm saying is, you think a 7-win team is better than a 10-win team? I'll take New Orleans' record over Seattle's record any day.
I totally agree with you.
I'll take Tampa and New York Giants' record over that. Seattle did not deserve to be in the playoffs.
No, I think they deserve.
No losing teams deserve to be in the playoffs.
They deserve to be in the playoffs. That's part of the the playoff picture. In the NFL.
It's a stupid
no,
rule.
It's a rule. It's still a rule. Okay, they should not have hosted a first round game.
That's true.
It should have been played in New Orleans. I think the NFL goes back and sort of rehashes that rule. But I thought the same, like we were talking about early on, defenses win championships. Phil, you said it when we were at Breakers in the playoffs. You look at the team like the New Orleans Saints. They have a great defensive, statistically great defense on paper, but there's a lot of holes that we saw, and there's a lot of flaws on that team. Maybe the Seattle Seahawks could have snuck up on that team. I thought it was going to be a closer game. I didn't think the Seahawks were going to win necessarily, but playing on the road in the playoffs, let's put it this way, is pretty hard to do.
I don't think it's fair to give a wild card team a game at home because they just happen to have a better record there. There could be a lot of variables that go into what
I don't think it's fair to give
that
a losing team. I don't think it's fair to give a losing team a playoff game at all. I mean, I don't see any point in that when you have winning teams that are much better, that have much better records.
The point was proven this year when they went out and beat New Orleans, Doug.
The point was
proven.
They had to go out and prove that, and the NFL probably rigged that game so that they could stand up to the stupid rule.
Come on, you can't say that on this show, Doug.
Oh, I can say it.
You can't say that on the show.
They rigged the Super Bowl. They rigged the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This isn't the NBA, Doug. This is the NFL product we're talking about.
They rigged that. They can rig this as well.
They did it. They can't rig it.
New Orleans, give me a break.
Seattle played a perfect game.
Hey, give me a break. New Orleans allowed 41 points. When was the last team, experts, when was the last game where New Orleans allowed over 40 points? Quick. Anybody? Anybody, raise your hand out there if you know.
I'll come up in a second.
Probably 2 years ago.
It was September 6, 2006. Okay? And it was their first game of the year at the Indianapolis Colts, back when Indy was all high and mighty.
That was right after Katrina, too.
You know what? Seattle allowed an average of 20 points per game this season versus a lot of teams which were a lot better than the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, the game just fell apart for them for some reason. If not, it was rigged by the NFL. Who knows?
Well, when it comes to playoff football, though, Doug, I think you throw whatever you think happened in the regular season. You kind of just throw it out the window because anything can happen. anything can happen.
Anything's happened.
Well,
this
anything can happen,
we've
but
seen
you
it- we've
can't
seen it
throw it
time
all
and
out
time
the
again.
window. And
You
we'll
know?
see that, and we'll see that in a minute, because if we look at our conference, championship predictions that we made for the NFC, I predicted Green Bay would win over New Orleans. No, but somebody else here picked New Orleans in the conference championship too. But I did pick